go. June 9th, 2024, Dan Ryder, Probable Cause. Glad to have you with us tonight. It's Sunday night, and we have a lot of stuff to pack into this segment here. I'm going to try to get this done in about 35 or 40 minutes, but it's Sunday afternoon. Good news is, month of June, so far, we've only had 3 general aviation fatal accidents. I'm going to get you up to speed on all that. So far, in the month of May, we closed out May with 44. So right now we're at 47, which compares us to 71 1 year ago right now. For 2023, we had 71 at this exact same Sunday night. So we're quite a bit better, 24 to the better, and last year was very good better. Last year was a very good year. I get the question most often, but people always say, yes, but are we flying less? No, the answer to that is no, we are flying more. This has to do with general aviation fatal accidents per 100,000 hours flights flown, and we are doing better. We are flying more and having less accidents. Our number of incidences is up and on the rising, but the number of fatals is on the way down. That tells me that I believe we're learning how to handle our incidences better. Tonight's segment is very, very interesting. You know, one of my favorite songs in the whole world, probably top 20 favorite songs, is that Otis Redding song from a long time ago. I was just a kid when this thing came out, but it's Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. Otis Redding. I'd always heard about this. There's a plane crash involved. I never thought much about it, but it happened in 1967. I'm going to show you a real quick snippet. I went up to EAA Chapter 22 in Rockford last week. Boy, did I have a good time. The guy that picked me up knew all about it, and we went to the lake. I flew into Madison, Wisconsin, and that's where he picked me up, and we spent the day together. Boy, did we have fun. But when we got to the EAA meeting, that EAA Chapter 22 was packed out. They have never had such a great crowd, and they were great people, good food. We had a great time at EAA Chapter 22. Give you a quick snippet here. I found a guy in the crowd who said he was a sax player, and I asked him to help me with the song, Otis Redding song that I wanted to play. I brought a guitar along, and he did it. Now, keep in mind what you're about to see here. Completely unscripted, unrehearsed. We did not rehearse this one iota. I'll give you just a few seconds of it, but he did a great job. Something like that. So there will be people that see what it is that I'm trying to talk about. It'll go bigger than what we are in this room. Before it gets rained, where I put the guitar away, I have my friend right here who is going to help me because I brought a guitar, and you are not getting out of here without me playing guitar. It's required. Come on out here. All right. Is that for me? Yeah, it's for you.
All right, this is a spare the moment thing. My name is Harold Jefferson. I normally play the saxophone locally, but I do sing locally too.
How was that? The guy that picked me up, his name was Larry. Larry, what a fantastic guy. Larry did all the legwork and coordination, which is what I typically do. I go out on the road at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. I'll give you my schedule at the very end of this video, but I go out on the road and I get a chance to speak to some of these places. We did a live video. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. In any case, I always make a bunch of friends off this. Larry just became a lifelong friend, and I appreciate him for picking me up and spending the day with me and accommodating all my stuff. We went and figured out the Otis Redding crash. At least I think I figured it out. I want to run this by you. I'm a Beech 18 guy. Otis Redding died in a Beech 18 on the crash on the localizer approach to Madison, Wisconsin. It was December of 1967, and they came flying in there and they crashed. Now, here's the deal. Here's what I think it was. NTSB says for undetermined reasons. Never did assign a cause to it. They couldn't figure out what went wrong and simply said for undetermined reasons. Here it is in their report. You can see it right here. The pilot, Philip Frazier, 26 years old, had about 1,300 hours total time. The problem was when they came in to fly into this, it was about 400 overcast visibility, 1 light drizzle, fog, and low vis, which should not have been a problem. But they came in and shot this localizer approach. There used to be a thing called a locator outer marker. Sat well south of the airport, so they shot the localizer runway 36 into Madison. However, in between the locator outer marker and the airport was what? It was all water. So this is a dive and drive approach. Some of you remember from your instrument training, a dive and drive means you go down to the lowest altitudes that you can until you get to the last fix, and then you dive the airplane down and descend down and level off at your MDA. Well, what happens if you dive down to the MDA expecting to go visual, look outside, and you transition to all outside, and there's nothing out there but water? Water, sky, and mist and rain is all the same color. I think Mr. Frazier did a dive and drive, which is all that was available that day. There was no glide slope on this particular approach. He did a dive and drive. This airplane came out of the sky. I found it in the records at very low power. It was not producing very much power on either engine when it splashed into the water, and it hit hard. It broke the airplane in half. Here's a couple of pictures here I'm going to show you on the screen. This is the leader of the band. His name is Otis, and that's his airplane. You can see on the side of it says Otis Redding Enterprises on the side. Here's a picture of it coming out of the water. Here's the newspaper article here. Otis Redding and band die in Lake Monona crash. So this is where we're at, Lake Monona. Pop singer dies. Now here's a map of it. This is the approach plate. This is the map with the X. You can see the X is the impact point in the water. Here's another newspaper article. Salvage crews probe for wreckage shrouded in fog. Yes, it was a foggy day. There's a picture of the airplane that broke it in half coming out of the water. Here's a picture of the diver. They sent divers down and they got everybody out by the next day. This is a dive and drive approach, and I'm going to get pinged for a copyright, but I'm going to use this song here. This is me sitting on the dock of the bay just a few hundred yards from where Otis Redding died. I got this little section that I prepared for you just to get you in the mood of this Otis Redding thing. We're going to get to the aviation accidents and all that stuff in just a little bit. Bear with me here. This is worth talking about because I finally found the locator outer marker. I found the lake, and I found the guy that watched this airplane crash in 1967. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's tonight watching Probable Cause up here in Madison, Wisconsin. You never know what you're going to find up here in Madison. This is the original beacon that was on display and in use December of 1967. Otis Redding wrote that song. He recorded it 3 days before his death in a Beech 18 just a few miles from here. The probable cause from the NTSB has always been written as undetermined. We're going to go to the crash site, take a look, and I'm going to give you my answer for what actually happened to Otis Redding 3 p.m. on December 9th, 1967. This is the actual beacon displayed at the airport and in use on that day as that Beech 18 tried to complete their non-precision approach into Madison, Wisconsin. Let's go take a look. All right, now we truly are sitting by the dock of the bay. This is Lake Monona. You can see a helicopter going across out here. This is flying on the road. Runway 1836 Madison. This is Lake Monona, 3,500 feet this way is where the plane crash happened. It crossed over the compass locator outer marker and dove straight into the water right here. I'm going to explain a little bit about what happened here and why this airplane crashed. This is a dive and drive approach, and boy did he dive. He dove after crossing that compass locator outer marker. Anyway, the airplane crash was just 3,500 feet this way, and as of right now I am sitting by the dock of the bay. This is the driveway where government employees could drive up and pull right up to this building. You can still see on the ground here the marking where the foundation for this building used to be right here. This is the spot where this compass locator outer marker used to be. It should have had glide slope available to it. Sometimes, I don't know why that they did not have glide slope available. I don't know why the pilot elected for the dive and drive, but he definitely dove this Beech 18 right straight into the water. He just could not see that the water and the sky and the rain and the mist and the low vis, the murky conditions, they all ran together. He went all outside. He never saw a thing. This airplane hit. They recovered all of the airplane except for one propeller. One three-bladed propeller and hub is still out there in the lake, and I know exactly where that's at now. It's still laying out there at the bottom of the lake. Maybe someday we'll get a little expedition and come back and pull the propeller off that Beech 18 that's still down there in the bottom of the lake. Well, if this isn't cool, I'm with Roger, and Roger and his father watched the Otis Redding plane crash happen. Where were you at on that day in December of '67 relative to this spot? Where were you that day?
Probably about 3 miles up Winnequa Road over by the boat landing on Toniwatha.
And tell me what the conditions were. What was the weather?
The conditions were cloudy, overcast, I mean, dark, but not at night or anything. 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon and stuff, but it was cloudy, and there was some rain.
Yeah, the report says it was drizzly. They said 1 mile visibility and drizzly. So now, ironically, I ran into Roger here because we went to find the location for the compass locator outer marker for the non-precision localizer approach to 3-6, which is what the Beech 18 was on. Tell us where that locator outer marker would have been that day.
No, I can't.
No, it's right here. It's right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's right here.
Yeah.
Right here, across the street. It was in a park, the park here, and it was across the street from 5202 Winnequa Road.
Yes, directly across the street. What color was this building? This is a government building and a government lot. What color did this building used to be?
The only thing I can tell you, there was some orange, and I believe it was white and orange.
Right. So we're standing at the spot across from Roger's house where the compass locator outer marker used to be. Remember, a non-precision dive and drive, you get to this spot, you're cleared down to the next lowest altitude. It's not a stabilized approach. This is dive and drive. They dove the airplane down to try to get it out of the weather so they could see, but when they dove it down, there's nothing to see out there but water. There is no green trees and earth to see. That they could have been coming down at 1,000 or 1,100 feet a minute. They dove and drove. In fact, the name of that approach is called a dive and drive approach. They got to this geographic spot across from your house and they dove it down, gear down, full flaps. Their only problem was they could not see that the water and the sky and everything was all the same color, and they just drove it straight into the ground.
So what they wanted to do is go down lower and go west.
No, they
where the water was or not.
No, they wanted to stay. They wanted to stay on course,
right on track. Okay.
Stay right on track, but come down a little bit more stabilized. Now today's approaches have what they call CAMPA, constant angle non-precision approaches, where you come down at a constant angle. So even when you cross this, you still come down at 500 or 600 feet a minute, but you got to stay on your instruments. This guy, this pilot, probably transitioned to 100% outside once he got a little bit of glimpse of the fact that he was probably beneath the clouds or starting to come out of the clouds. He went all outside when he should have stayed inside and watched his altimeter. His altimeter would have told him the whole story there, would have told him the whole thing. But Roger, it is amazing to run into you. You and your dad watched it happen. You went to what? You went to the police immediately?
We ran up to the Monona Police Department right away and told them what happened, and they said they'd already been contacted and stuff. So we came back down there, and there was all kind of ambulances and squad cars and things like that. So we got out of there. We figured, well, they don't need us to, and we left our names if they did need any information from us, what we had seen. So
yeah, well, I appreciate you talking with me. A very interesting historical moment. I am thrilled to find you. I'm also thrilled to find this exact geographical spot. This is the location where this orange and white building used to be. That's even the driveway for it, where they could come up and drive their car up to the facility to work on it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, but that's what they do. That's exactly what they did, because I would see them come up here once in a while.
Yeah. Thank you, Roger.
My pleasure.
Thank you for your help.
Anything we can do to let us know.
So once again, there's the NTSB report. I'll put it up on the screen here for you. I put this on here. The pilot, his name is Philip Frazier, age 26. And I also put this on here. I underlined 1,290 total hours, 118 in type. Likely never trained for non-precision dive and drive approach over water. I haven't ever been either. I've been trained for non-precision approaches, and we used to do dive and drive, but I've never tried to do a dive and drive for real coming out of the clouds over something where there was nothing to see. We're supposed to see streets and green and earth and texture and things like that when we come out of the clouds. We're supposed to have something to visually identify and find the beacon, find something that looks like earth down there. In this particular case, there was nothing to see. It's all the same color. I think he tried to transition. I've been in this situation before, coming out of the clouds with rain on the windshield. It's very foggy and low vis. Coming out of the clouds, there's nothing to see. He had to find the earth. It was supposed to be down there someplace. They were calling it 400 overcast or 300 overcast, something like that. So obviously he was thinking that if he could get down beneath the overcast, he was going to see Mother Green Earth. It was never there. He never realized that the locator outer marker was just south of where the water was, and when he came out of the clouds, he was overwater. Does that make sense to you? I want you to give me a comment and let me know what you think. I think this is not spatial disorientation. I think he did a dive and drive approach as taught, and he came out of the clouds, never saw it, drove it straight into the water. Here's the other airplane crash I'm going to show you on the screen here right now. This is the crash in Canada. This is the Beaver that took off and hit the boat right here, and I'll show it to you one more time here. Thankfully, nobody got hurt on this accident, but this was just last week up in Canada. This airplane took off. Check this out. We also had that Bonanza crash in Colorado, the airplane that lost power, made it in. The interesting thing here is that he could have had a lot more altitude. He elected to fly over hostile terrain, which is city, houses, and roads, and he made it almost up to the airport that he was going to, but had an engine problem, low oil pressure, and he put it down. Here's the NTSB guy. Listen to how the NTSB guy speculates. This is the day after the crash, and the NTSB guy is wanting to tell you what he was thinking. Like, how does he know what he was thinking?
So I'm sure what was going through the pilot's mind was, I see a roadway, I need to get this aircraft down, let's give it a shot.
The NTSB guy also wants to tell you that railroad tracks are not a good option. He wants to tell you that landing on the street is a good option. I disagree.
A roadway is not a bad place to land an aircraft. It really isn't. A railroad track is a long, a longitudinal area is not a place to land it.
Look what happened. This thing tried to land on a street. It hit a car. It hit people. It jagged things went through the wings. It spilled fuel. It burst into flames. They're lucky that they're still alive. Don't take this onto a road if you have any other option. I would certainly, in a Bonanza, I would certainly elect gear up onto a railroad track would be my first choice. It'll slide to a stop like a choo-choo train. No problem. Don't take this gear down onto a street, which is what he did. Now, the next one is up in Connecticut. This is a 172 last week, and I want you to listen to the audio on this thing. This is a girl named Caitlin Young, and she specifically says she panicked. She's alone in her 172 flying along. Listen to this where she says, I'm panicking.
I'm a student pilot solo, and I am panicking. 78445.
ATC did try their very, very best to help young Caitlin and directed her towards a grass field. Her problem was she never found it, couldn't fly it. She could not fly a power-off approach to a grass field. I'm not sure what her status was, student-wise, hours-wise, or anything like that. But when it came down to it, she ended up on a right base, landing north at this grass field, ended up in a campground parking lot, did not make it to the runway. Fortunately, she's going to be okay. Here's a little video clip of her in the ambulance, but she's going to be okay. If you're out there flying around, you better know how to dead stick your airplane to someplace, not stall it, not spin it. Young Caitlin got a lot of help from both ATC and another airplane on the frequency. Her problem was she just completely misjudged her energy state. She came up short. I still don't know yet if she stalled it or spun it, or if she simply ran out of energy and flew it into the tops of the trees. Don't know yet. We haven't seen the preliminary on that one. Thankfully, Caitlin Young is still alive and everything's good. I hope she'll continue her flight training and learn to fly a better power-off approach and handle an emergency situation. I'm a little bit disappointed in the CFI involved in this. Send young Caitlin out on the road without having the proper knowledge on what to do and where to go, and some specific instructions on a power-off dead stick to an open field out there someplace should have been a core AQP training environment, and I don't think she ever got it. Now here's an interesting one. We were flying at our local airport. Watched this 182 come flying in. It was after dark. We were out doing some required night training. The pattern was not totally full, but it had plenty of airplanes. This guy flew in, made 2 right-hand turns. I'm going to put this graphic up on the screen. This is his flight-aware ADS-B track, and I've drawn the yellow box to show you the traffic pattern. He made 2 head-on attempts into traffic pattern. He said on the radio, he said he couldn't find the airport. He said he was lost. He knew he was near the airport, but he elects to make right-hand turns in the traffic pattern. I am seeing a lot of that. I don't know what we're going to do about that, but remember, a standard traffic pattern, know where you're at, be at the altitude, fly a box pattern, talk to the other airplanes, fly a rectangular course, one of the vicinity of the traffic pattern, all turns should be made to the left. Fly a standard rectangular traffic pattern. If you don't know where you are coming into any little airport at night, stay high, stay at 2,500 feet above it and fly around and get your bearings, and then figure out how you're going to enter into that traffic pattern. Don't arrive at the traffic pattern like this guy did at traffic pattern altitude amongst all those other airplanes that had to scatter, divert, and take evasive maneuvers on this thing. I'm not going to put his name or his N number up on the screen, but I do have it. I'll just tell you, I am kind of disappointed in that one. This is the last one I'm going to put up on the screen here. This is 1569 Echo. This is Cessna 172. The final just came out on this. It's over a year ago, someplace up in New York. This guy takes a 172, overloaded, 3 people in it, tries to take off with a tailwind on a 2,000-foot strip, and guess what he does? He elects to make an intersection takeoff, leaving valuable runway behind him. Didn't make it into the air, crashed, everybody's okay, but destroyed the airplane, injured everybody. He made an intersection takeoff with a tailwind in an overloaded 172, and all that's in the report. I just have to wonder why. And is this guy a candidate for a Darwin Award? We can't go out there and do that kind of stuff. He is very lucky he didn't kill himself and his 2 passengers on this flight. One, the N number, again, if you want to look it up, is 1596 Echo. 1596 Echo. I think it's a strong candidate for a Darwin Award. I'm going to put the June page up on the screen here. We've only had 3 general aviation fatals in the United States in the month of June, which is not good. None of the 3 are good, and I feel for each of the family and friends of each one of these, as we always do. They're all horrible, but we got to keep in mind that we are starting to do better. We finished up May at 44. This 3 makes us to 47 as of June 9th, 2024. 1 year ago today, we were at 71, and currently right now we're sitting at 8.9 fatals per month average. That's stretched out over 366 days of 2024. Average per month, we're at 8.9. Remember, the average is 18. For years and years and years, we've done a steady drumbeat of 18 general aviation fatal accidents per month. To have gone this far into 2024 and still be sitting at 8.9 is amazing. I'll take it. I think that we're going to end up 2024 with more flying and less fatals, which is good. That should help everyone's insurance. It should help a lot of things here. I'm going to go through them one by one. Here's the ones that we had for the month of June. The very first one was on the 6th of June, November 412 Juliet, November. That's an RV-12. That's a base to final stall is what it looks like. Guy's name was Jesse Norling. AQP number 12. That's a min speed thing. I think they say, I have heard rumors about a control problem base to final, but I can't find out any more information about that. Looks to me like a min speed thing. Failure to maintain DMS in a high banked pulling turn base to final. Looks like a typical stall, base to final stall, but don't know yet. We don't even have the preliminary on this one, so can't tell. But Mr. Norling is no longer with us. The next one is a truly tragic one, 268 Alpha Fox. That's the T-34 on the 7th. Bill Landers, age 90. He was 90 years old. He was out there doing aerobatics. I'm going to show you the video of it if you haven't seen it yet. This is the video of how Bill Anders died. So if you didn't get to see it, I'm going to show it to you one more time. But this is an aerobatic maneuver. Started too low and came out. My question is, there's other video out there shot from the shore. Is that a boat over there by the dam? Was he performing this at a very specific, particular place for the purpose of impressing somebody on the shore or on this boat? I don't have the answer to that. Normally when aerobatics like this are done, impromptu aerobatics, it's always hold my Coke, watch this kind of a thing. I think Bill Anders was a very good guy. If you don't know, he was an astronaut. He was on Apollo 8. He's the guy that took the Earthrise picture from Apollo 8 from the moon, looking back at the Earth. An American, a true American. He has done everything. He had a lot of flight time, a lot of experience. 90 years old. His son Greg is a pilot. A true loss to the Anders family, a true loss to the community. No disrespect at all to the Anders family, and we recognize that as a true loss. Should he have been by himself at age 90 out there at a T-34 doing aerobatics over the water? I don't know. You tell me. It doesn't sound good. Obviously, it did not come out good. I don't think there was anything wrong with the airplane or the engine. I think he just simply didn't start high enough. I'm going to show you the video one more time here. It looks to me like he simply did not start this thing up high enough. And then the last one, 518 Delta. This just happened in Arizona. So we did June 6th, 7th, and 8th at 7:25 a.m. This is a RANS S-12. Rising terrain, James Galvin, 68 years old. Can't tell much about this yet, but here's a picture of the airplane. Definitely trying to climb, trying to outrun rising terrain is what it looks like. Should have been survivable. Didn't look like really a super high-speed impact, but really we know almost nothing about this one here yet as well. So we'll just have to wait and see. Our deepest respects and condolences to this family out there as well in Arizona. From what I understand, I've got several messages from family and friends telling me that he was quite the guy and will be greatly missed in the aviation community in Arizona. You know, we have to talk about this helicopter, gyrocopter crash at Oshkosh. I've played the tapes of the #1 FAA guy that's in charge of Sun and Fun and FAA, actual FAA air traffic controller on the payroll of the FAA, telling you that there is no such thing as a brasher. We've talked about that at length. I'm going to play one more tape here of this guy telling you it's not possible to get a brasher. Remember, a brasher is an FAA ATC enforcement action for you doing the wrong thing, which I think there should be. This only protects the good people, the people that are following the NOTAM, following everything it's supposed to, following instructions, doing what they're supposed to do. You can become seriously killed at Airventure by somebody who is not following the rules. We have to have the brasher system to eliminate those who don't even have a NOTAM in the airplane. We have to have that. This helicopter crash, I'm going to show it to you one more time here. This is actual footage of the gyrocopter hitting the helicopter. His name is Eric Bruce in the NTSB report. Of course, he says he doesn't remember anything. And then in this excerpt here, he goes on to tell you about what he does remember. It's not making any sense. Remember, the two guys in the gyrocopter were the offending aircraft that hit Mark Peterson and his guest in the helicopter. The two guys in the helicopter died. The two guys in the gyrocopter survived. There are two independent lawsuits in place. Neither has been filed yet, but both are about to be. They're still well inside of statute of limitations. I am very experienced with and know the whole story on both of these. There's definitely going to be lawsuits. Who are the defendants? Well, you can probably guess who a few of them are. Should EAA be a defendant? I think both EAA and FAA should be a defendant in this. Why? It's because, and I want you to stop and think about this, 91-129 has to do with Class D operations. The air show operates waivered airspace during the times that the air show is in operation. The rest of the time, it's a Class D airport. What do you have to do to operate on the surface of a Class D airport to operate inside? You have to have communication. ATC has to give you a clearance. You cannot arbitrarily get out of government regulation and government stuff by simply saying we're going to have a free EAA calls it a fun fly free zone, whatever it is. It's in the video here. Check out this guy from EAA telling you that it's the EAA fly fun zone here up at EAA. They've designated this as the fun zone to fly your airplane, but you can't really do that. It's still a Class D airport. You have to have paperwork. Now I have, well, I'll tell you what, let's listen to that video first. Here's the guy from EAA.
All right, we're on the south end of the Airventure grounds where there's a grass runway down here which is used by the ultralights and light planes and home-built rotorcraft. And this area is called the Fun Fly Zone because it's where the fun is. It's where the interesting flying machines that people fly for pure enjoyment. 2022 is the 40th anniversary of this Part 103 ultralight vehicles regulation. There was a big move, you know, deregulation. And that's kind of maybe what you think of ultralights as, is personal freedoms, accountability, do things with less government intervention.
I have a copy of all the FOIA stuff. I did not FOIA this myself, but I've been given a copy of everything FOIA. There is no paperwork designating anybody to hand over arbitrarily Class D airspace to an air boss at Airventure. They haven't done it. This is something EAA has simply done, and frankly, I never thought about it either. This is the almighty EAA. They just do it because they are EAA and because they can, and nobody is going to say anything about it. Nobody would ever raise a flag. Well, I'm raising a flag over this one. You cannot operate these airplanes inside the surface of a Class D airport without some kind of a provision, a letter, a waiver. You have to designate and set up some rules. This entire thing for what this guy did up there in the entire fly fun free zone, the free do anything cowboy do what you want to do because we're EAA, that is completely absurd, and I'm not happy with all of that. I hope that EAA will sit up and pay attention because I'm sending a letter to both FAA and EAA. If there's another accident doing the exact same thing, they were put on notice of what they properly should do. They were put on notice of what the proper steps to be should have been accomplished. If they don't do the same thing and they kill more people inside this fly free fun zone, I think they're going to have a tremendous amount of culpability. I'm going to let them know that they have a letter telling them exactly what the problem is. Here's exactly what they have not done. It's the reason that those two guys are dead. You cannot arbitrarily do that, and that's what they did. So we'll see what happens. That's the fun fly zone at Airventure. It's there because they said it should be there, and it is. I don't know. Let's take a look one more time at the gyrocopter hitting the helicopter. That's what happened. I hope that all of y'all intending to fly into Airventure are safe. I hope everybody gets a copy of the NOTAM, goes by the rules and looks at the altered procedures up there. Just because you have a NOTAM for Airventure does not give you a waiver to operate this fun fly zone. It does not. There's nothing in the waiver that hands off that authority to an air boss in there. And you can send me a note or a comment if I've got this wrong here. But so far in all the FOIA stuff that I've seen, there's no paperwork on this. I just don't see any paperwork other than the fact that it's in the NOTAM. Putting it in the NOTAM does not make it so. So we'll revisit this again here. I'm still gathering information and talking to some other people on this thing, but I think that is our problem.
I would say 30, at least 30, pilot errors that could have been catastrophic.
Pilot deviations that could have been catastrophic.
That in the real world would have been a Brasher warning, and FSDO would have investigated.
And how many Brashers did you issue for the whole Airventure?
None.
Why is that?
We never have, Dan. I'll be honest with you. We never have.
Here's my schedule on June 11th, which is Tuesday. I'll be at Hampton. We're just sitting outside. It's my birthday. In the evening, we're going to hang around, play banjo, and maybe fly a few airplanes. If you happen to be in the area, come on in, stop in and say hi. Nothing special going on. Probably a little bit of food and hanging around till sunset or maybe a little bit after. And then on next Saturday, is the Hampton fly-in. I won't be there, but the DC-3 will be on display if you want to come in and see the DC-3. There's a bunch of airplanes. They're doing helicopter rides and all that kind of stuff. That's June 15th at Hampton. That same Saturday, I'll be up at KMZZ, and my friend Jason up there invited me up there. I'll be up there doing another Saturday presentation up there. Should be a lot of fun. Then June 29th, I'll be in Texas, Redbird Field in Texas with my friend Doc Williams out there, who's invited me back for a second time to speak on AQP out there. I'll be out there on that Saturday, June 29th. And the very last one that I've got on the schedule here is July 13th. That's down in Alabama at this, and I'll show you the flyer here for it right now. I do a lot of traveling. All that stuff is on my all on my own expense. These videos take a tremendous amount of time and energy to create and hoard video and get this stuff and capture the stuff. It doesn't happen instantly, and I got to stop and talk to you on the camera. If you're in the chat room, the live chat room tonight, take a second and say hello before we get out of here. Let me know where you're checking in from. Let me know that you made it all the way to the end. And I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys that can support me with $1 or $2 towards these funds. It takes a lot of time and travel and things like that. It takes a lot of expense to go out on the road and rent a car and sometimes get a hotel at some of these places. Zelle, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo are easy electronic ways for you to give me a $1 or $2, and that's all I ask, and I can keep on doing these videos if I get my expenses covered. The DTSB Superfund is up and running. That's our 501c3. If you'd like to give larger tax-deductible donations to the DC-3 Superfund, here's the graphic for that, and we certainly appreciate that. I'm going to get out of here and get this video up and on the air for my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel, Dan Grider. Probable cause.